Hello everyone, welcome to the final Enquiry lesson of the week, and probably your final remote learning lesson of the week too. So well done for persevering with all of this week. Final one to go. So it's Friday 9th of July, we are learning to classify living things today. So today, in order to achieve our WALT, we are going to be, you've guessed it, scientists. So we're going to use our scientific knowledge to help us achieve our objective of classifying different living things. Sorting. So I've got some objects here. I want you to think about it. Imagine you had to sort these things into two groups. What would you decide on the groups? And what would you call each group? Okay, have a think. Can you think of at least two different ways you can sort these objects? Make a note in your book, okay, or notes in your head, and I'll give you 10 seconds now to have a think and to do that. Off you go. Okay, let's see how we did. So here are some examples of how you could have sorted these objects. Okay, so you could have sorted them into two groups, plastic and non-plastic. You could have had green things and red things. You could have had living and non-living, which was probably, well, for me, was the most standout one to do. Edible things and non-edible things. Animals and non-animals. Okay, so there's different ways that you can sort groups and sort objects. But why would putting things into groups be useful? Have a think. So grouping could be useful if you wanted something to eat. You need to work out what things needed to be cared for. So living things can be grouped. We call this classifying, and each group is called a class. Classifying living things is called taxonomy, and people who do this classifying are called taxonomists. So let's look at living things. How could we classify these? So we've got a killer whale, a flower, a lion, a phytoplankton, ivy, and a virus. How can we classify these? So classification of animals. Animals can be classified into the following groups. So we've got mammals, amphibians, reptiles, fish, birds, insects, crustaceans, arthropods, mollusks, arachnids, and annelids. Okay, all different groups. So each animal comes within one of these groups. So for instance, an owl would be classified as a bird. Okay, a human would be classified as a mammal. So we have groups to help us classify these animals. How else can we classify living things? So one way we can classify living things is by using something called a classification key or a classification chart. So here's an example of how a classification key or chart works. So you ask a question and there's a yes or no option, and that will help you to classify your different objects or different animals. Okay, so for instance, does it have 4 legs? Yes, then it's a cat because it's the only creature out of the 5 that has 4 legs. If it's a no, then you think of another question to help you classify these animals. Does it have more than 4 legs? Yes. So now we're left with a lobster and a spider, so we need a good question to be able to classify both of those into different groups. Does it live on land? Yes, so it must be a spider. No, there you go, it's a lobster. And likewise, if you said no for 4 legs, because a snail doesn't have any, and an owl has 2, we need another question to distinguish between the two. So does it have feathers? Yes, therefore it's an owl. No, then it must be a snail. Carl Linnaeus is a famous man in science. Okay, he's a scientist, and in 1735 he published Systema Naturae, which explained a way to classify living things. Okay, so that's a Latin name. Linnaeus put all living things into 3 groups called kingdoms, plants, and animals. Called kingdoms. These were plants, animals, and minerals. Each kingdom was split into smaller levels. Scientists still use this system today. More species have been discovered since Linnaeus' lifetime, so extra categories have since been added. The system now looks like this. Okay, so here you go. It looks like that. Each level gets smaller until there is only one living thing in the species section. So you start at the top with your domain and your kingdom, and you go all the way down. So below is how a cat can be classified using the linear system. Okay, you notice that the language used is very much Latin. Oh, okay, but for your activity, don't worry too much about the linear system. I wanted to show that to you, but that's quite difficult to understand. What we're going to have a go at doing today is creating our own classification charts or classification keys. Okay, but before we do that, we're going to complete a classification chart and fill in the missing questions or the missing animals, and then you're going to have a go at creating your own after. So let me just share this with you. Okay, so when you go onto the timetable, the remote learning timetable, and you'll notice there's 3 links: there's animals, mini beasts, or plants. So I want you to pick one of 3. You don't have to do all 3. So if you prefer to do it on plants, click on plants. If you prefer to do it on mini beasts, or animals, it's entirely up to you to decide what you want to do. So if you click on animals, okay, the link will come up, which looks like this. There's a 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star activity. All right, so pick pick the correct challenge for you. Okay, don't make sure it's not too easy. Make sure you're not in your comfort zone. So if you go for 1-star, you are simply just reading the questions and trying to work out where each animal goes. Okay, mammal, reptile, fish, bird, and so forth. This will be sent on Dojo, so you can just write directly on the sheet electronically, okay, or draw the animal, or if you prefer to, you can write these out in your books and take a picture and send them across. 2-star is exactly the same, other than it doesn't give you the name, so you can write the name of each group, okay, reptile, fish, or you can even write the specific name of the animal, okay, so clownfish, pigeon, lion, and so on, okay. And then if you opt for 3-star, which I'm hoping most of you will, you have to create your own questions. So does the animal have legs? So look at the animals, so you know that these don't, so that has to be no. And then you'll need to create your own question here to distinguish between the 2 animals here, okay, and so on. So if it's a yes, you look and go, right, okay, I then need to create my own question, which will give me the answer for yes for a pigeon. Does it have a beak? Does it fly, for instance? Okay, yes, for instance, then we know it's a pigeon. No, and then you have to then create your own question. So we've got a yes to become a lion and a no to become a frog or a toad, it looks more like to me. Okay, once you've done that, then I want you to have a go at creating your own classification chart. So to make this fun, I would suggest going outside in your back garden or walking to the park and collecting some objects in nature, so maybe some leaves, some grass and twigs, whatever it might be, and then create your own classification chart. You could also have a bit of fun with sweets and chocolate. You can basically classify anything. So with sweets and chocolate, if you had some celebrations as a good example, you can then create your own questions based on the chocolate in celebrations. For instance, is the wrapper red? Yes. Okay, so that will then leave Maltesers and Topic, I believe, are the only 2 red ones. And then you would have so no, you'd have all the others would be left to think of questions to classify them. And on the yes bit, if you've got Maltesers and Topic left, you need a question, so that yes would be Maltesers, no would be Topic. Or vice versa, other way around. Does it have a nut? Yes, Topic, no Malteser. Okay, so have a go, have a play around with that. A really nice fun activity to do at the end of a long hard week. So I really look forward to seeing them, boys and girls. Enjoy your weekends, everyone, and speak soon. Bye bye. Oh man, it just didn't work.